And to your point, that's not me saying only have people that agree with you and will support you no matter how dumb the idea is. You should have people that you can trust their opinion, right? Because you don't want to have a bunch of yes men around you when you say, hey, man, I want to quit my well-established job that I'm making good money, my family secured, to go try to be an astronaut when you have no way of ever achieving that goal.
You are listening to the Go Earn Your Salt podcast, brought to you by Salty Electrolytes. On this podcast, your host, Riley Rogers, explores the stories of people who get after it, get things done, and earn their salt. You will hear from high achievers who discuss what makes them tick, how they got to where they are today, and where they're headed tomorrow. Perhaps this podcast will help you go earn your salt. I've got my friend Travis Motl from the Elbows Tight podcast on the show. Travis, just want to welcome you, man. I asked you on here because, you know, we've developed a distant friendship here now just from, you know, I was on your podcast and you know, I've listened to you for years. And so I feel like I know you probably better than you know me just because I've been that eavesdropper from a distance. But man, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. And you've said some things over time that have perked my interest. And so I wanted to interview you. Today, that's what we're going to talk about. So welcome to the show, my friend.
It's very a humbling experience when people want to, you know, have an ear to what you have to say. And as a guy sitting in his master bedroom with his kids downstairs, I'm very humbled to have the opportunity to chat with you and to your listeners, man. So I'm forever grateful, especially with, you know, working with you just outside of, you know, our, like you said, our distance friendship with like sponsoring the podcast and being a listener. It's like, I'm very grateful for it, man. So thank you so much for your time.
Oh man, it's wonderful to have you here. So listen, tell the audience who you are. Where'd you grow up? What did life look like as a kid?
Yeah. So, I'll try not to be long-winded.
Dude, you're a podcaster. I think we're going to get some long-winded. I love it.
Right. It's always weird being on the other side of the questions, man. So, but I was, my name's Travis Motl. Like Riley said, I was born in Minnesota, grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I claim Vegas as like where I'm from. My old co-host, John Tier, would tell me that I'm from Minnesota, but I'm not from Vegas. But I'm like, I was just born there, dude. So I'm from Vegas. But I grew up in Vegas. Is a very interesting childhood. You know, I have an older brother, younger sister, and me and my brother used to just get into mayhem as kids. And, you know, like most kids growing up that are millennials, like we didn't have a whole lot of strings attached to us in some parts of our lives. So you got to go do some fun stuff before the internet ruined it for kids nowadays. But so I grew up in Vegas, moved out of my parents' house when I was about 17 years old. And me and my brother ended up getting an apartment together when I was 18. And we ended up getting in some financial issues during that. And while I was in high school, I was going to school my senior year for welding. And in my junior year of high school, my welding teacher said, hey, if you guys want to make welding a career, there's two ways to do it. Either you join the pipe fitters union or you join the Navy. And I graduated high school in 2008. And what happened in 2008, like so many of us unfortunately remember, the housing market crash, the recession and all that stuff. So the pipe fitters union ended up closing their door. And so that wasn't an option for me. Like I said, bring it back to where my brother and I were having financial issues with our apartment. We ended up getting evicted. And I walked over to my dad's house, who lived in like the same apartment complex as us. And I was like, hey, Dad, I think I want to join the Navy. And my dad was like, all right. He turned around and grabbed the keys to his like 2000 Ford Ranger. He said, get in the truck before you change your mind. And we got in the truck and he took me straight to the recruiter's office. And
oh, wow.
From that day forward, it was like I was destined to join the Navy. And so I joined the Navy as a what we call a hull maintenance technician. And so I was a welder, plumber, firefighter, all kinds of cool stuff for the Navy, jack of all trades. And I did about 7 years in the Navy, ended up picking up E6 in under 6 years. If anyone's a veteran from the Navy knows, that's relatively quick. It's a very hard thing to do. And I was fortunate enough to advance quickly through the Navy. I loved it. But I always told myself when it started to feel more like a job and I wasn't having as much fun doing it, it was probably time for me to leave. And so that happened in December 31st, 2015. Ended up leaving the Navy. It just didn't picking up E6 it became more political. It wasn't necessarily me um, being able to do my job anymore. I was more of a leader now. I wasn't able to do the things that I really enjoyed doing. A lot of like administrative issues, a lot of like, hey, what are you doing to make the next rank? What's up with your community service? And I was doing all these things already. Like I enjoyed community service. I enjoyed learning and stuff like that. But having someone, kind of like poking at you, like, hey, what's up with this? What's up with this? Really put a sour taste in my mouth. And so I put in for early separation. I was a volunteer firefighter at the time. And one of my good buddies was in charge of the like recruitment for the fire department that I was volunteering at, and he was able to get me into the Washington State Fire Training Academy. And so I separated from the Navy in 2015. This January 15th of 2016, I was basically in boot camp again for the fire department. And so I did that for 3 months, and um, after doing that, I realized wasn't necessarily for me anymore. I did it for about 2 years. After graduating, I met a lot of cool people in the fire academy. Got a job offer with Fed Fire in Woodby Island, just a little north from here. And I was like, it's not necessarily for me. And so the firefighting ended there, and worked for a private engineering firm in Seattle for a little bit. And now I work for the U.S. Navy again. They got me again. And and I'm back in engineering for them. I don't have a degree in engineering, but I work for, the shipyard over here in Washington. So kind of a long-winded answer. Picked up jiu-jitsu in 2017. I feel like I'm just rambling. Where do you want to go with that?
No, man, I do want to go. I go with that. So you're still working for the Navy in the shipping yard.
Yeah.
What do you work on there? You describe that a little bit.
Yeah. So what I do for the Navy now is I'm considered an engineering technician, but I work in like a purely administrative role now. So when these guys go on the ships or submarines that are here, the nuclear powered submarines and carriers that are here in Bremerton, what they do is they have to work through a piece of paper. With the piece of paper, like a whole package. It gives them like things that they have to look at, quality assurance forms, certain administrative forms, references, and stuff like that. So they have all these things and that they have to work to. And I'm one of the people within the process that ensures that it's correct for them. And then we release it to them, and then they bring it back to us, and then we certify their work saying that administratively it was correct. Not technically it was correct, although there are some technical aspects we have to know in order to understand if they did the work administratively correct. But then we do that, and then we're like, for the projects for, when the shipyard or when the carriers or submarines do what we call an availability maintenance period, we're like one of the big administrative positions for the whole project. So people come to us all the time, up and down the chain of command on the projects to, they need something from us. Purely customer service role. Like everything I do is customer service. If I don't have, people working, then I don't really have anything to do. So whenever the guys that are going to work on the boats are working, we're probably working. They need us for something. So it's a fun job. I really enjoy it. It's not like a taxing job physically or anything like that, and not necessarily even mentally. Although it does have its times when we are like swamped with work. We have a lot of things to do. Typically, there's like 6 of us on a project every day, and all 6 of us can be doing a different task the entire day and be completely swapped with that one task. So that does get a little difficult sometimes, but it's not me being on the deck plates of welding, breaking my back anymore. You know what I mean? To tie it back to like welding, why I stopped doing that is, I worked in the Navy at it. When I went to Seattle for that private engineering firm, I would go a lot on construction sites, and I was an inspector, a quality assurance guy for an engineering architectural firm. And I would go on these job sites, and growing up, there was always young kids on construction sites that are trying to, make a name for themselves, get into the trades, and things like that. And, about 10 years later, there wasn't that. And there was always, older guys, older than I am, like mid 40s, early 50s or older that were the ones doing all the work. And I rarely ever saw anyone young. And so I was like, well, I don't want to be one of those guys that's caught in this because I don't have anything else to do. And just like the Navy, I was like, if I'm good at this, then I think I can be pretty successful at anything I do. And so I just kind of keep that mindset of like when I go into any career path or anything that I try to be good at, I think, man, I set goals and I just try my hardest to accomplish those and take an honest look at myself. Like, am I actually trying to be as good as possible when I'm doing this? And if I feel like I'm not, that's okay. Just don't set goals for myself that I feel like I will never achieve because I'm not pursuing it in the fullest capacity that I should, if that makes sense.
Yeah, man, you said something in there that's interesting to me because I've heard this a lot. I worked construction for a lot of years, and I used to hear that all the time, and then I hear it in other trades and other careers also, and that is the people getting locked into a certain career. They climb the ladder enough where they start making decent money, and that's becomes the only area where they're educated enough to make that kind of money, and so now they're locked in because they can't, or they don't feel like they can go start over somewhere else. But
Hmm.
listening to you describe your career path, it sounds like you have done that. You've been able to recreate and restart. What advice would you have for folks with that mindset where they feel locked into a certain career?
That's a hard one because I know people are very scared of change, and when you're successful at something, not being successful at something else is a very scary thing, and I completely understand that. I'm very fortunate that my wife has always been there for me to always support me in every aspect of my careers that I've tried to pursue, and she's been an ear for me to put my troubles on, and she's been there for me and stuff like that. And I think the best advice I can give is like you got to have a support system around you first of all, because life is just so much easier with people around you. uh to bring my faith into it, right? I believe Jesus helps me with everything I do. I try to pray about it and whatnot. And so if that's something that you believe in, then obviously, lean more into that as well. But if you ever try to go at something alone, then it's a whole lot harder, and you're probably more likely to not succeed. Nothing in life is accomplished by ourselves, whether it's through family, whether it's through friends or something like that. And the more you can lean into that and allow others to help you, especially in hard times when you feel like, oh man, I'm stuck here. The reason I got my job in the shipyard is because I was actually John, my old co-host on my podcast. I was confining at him that I was getting frustrated with my commute to Seattle. Some days during the summer, it was like 4 or 5 hours of commuting just because traffic and
Oh,
ferry times and stuff. It was so terrible. And I was like a CrossFit coach at the time, and I was just he was one of my athletes. And I was like, hey, man, I'm like just so frustrated. I don't think I want to work in Seattle anymore. The summertime just ruins me. I feel like I'm just always commuting. I would come home frustrated. You know what I mean? It was
hmm,
really taking a lot out of me. And he's like, through me confining in him, he's like, hey, I have an opportunity for you. You know what I mean? So being surrounded by people that, can help you would help a lot with this. And I would just say like, make sure you have a support system, whether it's friends, families, husband, wives, or whatever. Because if you try to go at it alone, if you try to start a new chapter in your life alone, it's going to be a whole lot harder when things get tough.
yeah, yeah. Having those voices that will root for you, right? That will cheer you on. We have plenty of naysayers in life, and I think I hear that's what you're saying,
100%.
right? Stay away from
Yeah,
those.
yeah. But that and to your point, that's not me saying only have people that agree with you and will support you no matter how dumb the idea is. You should have people that you can trust their opinion, right? Because you don't want to have a bunch of yes men around you when you say, "Hey, man, I want to quit my well-established job that I'm making good money, my family secured, to go
Hmm.
try to be an astronaut." When you have no way of ever achieving that goal. So even to like go back to it a little bit more, like you got to make sure that what you want to achieve is obtainable to you also. You have to be realistic about the things that you want to do and the career path you want to have. Not to say that you can't accomplish anything you put your mind to. I just think that if you're setting unrealistic goals without having the things in place before you can achieve those, and you just jump head straight into it, once again, like it's going to be harder for you, and you're less likely to achieve, in my opinion, what you want. So if you want to do these things, not just having yes men around you or people that are going to blindly
Hmm.
support anything that you say or do, and also, having people that you can trust their opinion, and then, making sure you have these attainable, smart goals, right? Strategic, measurable,
Achievable,
I forgot what the other ones are. Yeah, achievable.
realistic, and
Realistic and time based. I think it is.
I
It's
think
T
it's
for
something like
time based. Yeah. So making sure that you have, it works that way. Like that's a smart way to do it because that's probably going to be the best way you do it. So if you're thinking, I'm locked in, this sucks, sit down and truly take a look at something you want to achieve and what it's going to take in order to do it. Don't just quit that job because uh,
because you're grumpy.
you hate it. But once again, it kind of it's like in jiu-jitsu. It's like you can give a good answer, but then there's always going to be, but it kind of depends also.
Yeah, you touched on something there. You kept using the word trust when it came to people who would give you the hard advice, right? I tell folks all the time, and in meetings where I'm asked to consult on something, one of the biggest, I think, phrases that comes out of my mouth is have people around you who love you enough to hurt your feelings.
100%. Yes.
So with that, the key word is trust, man. You use that several times, and there's folks who you can trust to give you that kind of advice, and then there's just the naysayers. There's always those people who poo-poo on anything you want to do, but man, we've got to have those people, and I can think I've got about 4 guys in my world where if I've got a major decision, I'm going to those guys because they will hurt my feelings if it's a bad idea. And man, I value those.
I have a couple people too. One of them is like my good buddy Cody Smith. He's been a friend of mine since I moved up here 11 years now. He's also the black belt at my academy. He's a big mentor of mine. He's the one that got me into coaching CrossFit, coaching jiu-jitsu. He helped me bring me to the faith and stuff like that. And so I have a large amount of respect for that man. And anything he tells me, I take it wholeheartedly, like, good and bad. And so he's one of the first ones that comes to mind when I talk about these people. And he's not a naysayer, because I feel like a lot of times we can see people that don't agree with things that we say, and we can instantly go to, oh, this person's a hater. It's like, well, listen to what they have to say and be honest with yourself. Like, if you're constantly making bad mistakes and this person is constantly telling you, hey, that's a bad mistake, maybe they're not a hater. maybe you're just naive.
That's a fact, man. Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
I think that term hater gets thrown around too much for anybody who disagrees with us, and that's just not the case.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at yourself. If you're a dumb person, like I made this joke with my wife the other day. We were at we were leaving practice at church, and I was telling her, hey, let's get we got so much stuff to do. We'll just stop and get the kids 2 Happy Meals. Blame me in the comments if you want. I don't care. But yes, I feed my kids McDonald's, and I was getting them a Happy Meal because, it makes my life easier when I have so much to do. And so we're like in the drive-thru, and like this lady's on taking our order, it just kept like repeating me. And I was like, am I just like talking? Like, am I the issue right here? It's like, my wife's like laughing at me. I was like, what is going on? Like, am I speaking English? Like, I wasn't blaming the lady taking my order at all. Like, what is my tongue just slipping up? She's like, she's just laughing. And then I tell her something, and she's like, what did you say? I was like, I must be the issue. And she started laughing. She's like, no, I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. Right. But like, to my point, like, if you're the common denominator in all these situations, maybe people aren't the hater. Maybe you are. Like, look at the common denominator of these things that keep happening to you.
Yeah, I've heard that term where they say, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it looks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
100%.
You might absolutely be it. Oh my goodness, man. So you've mentioned to me this starting over thing, and you said in just a little while ago that it's hard to want to start something else you're going to suck at.
Absolutely. Now,
you mentioned CrossFit. You were a CrossFit coach. When you start CrossFit, you suck at it, right? So talk about that, the entry into that world.
Yeah. So I started taking my fitness journey more seriously in 2013. When did I live in Guam? 2013 is when I started CrossFit. And it was because of one of my friends, one of my good friends. He was like, hey, man, I'm going to go try this CrossFit stuff. It's, I was like, all right, cool. I'll go try it with you. And I'm a very social person. And so anything to do with like people that are trying to do the same thing as me or try to be better, whether it's the military, CrossFit, jiu-jitsu, or whatever it is, it kind of draws me into it more because I love the sense of community and things. Right. And so I was like sitting there and, I was like, well, let me go try it. And I tried it and I was terrible. I was like, oh my gosh, like just lifting a barbell for this workout was soul crushing. And so it's similar things that happened in jiu-jitsu. I was like, man, I can't let that. I got to get stronger. You know what I mean? Like I see these women in there that are absolutely crushing it, lifting more weights than me and everything like that. And I was like, dude, there's something here. And I was trying to, be a healthier person. I was running a lot at the time, running marathons, 5Ks, 10Ks, like every weekend. And so I thought I was physically fit and able to do this. But the second you put some weight in my hand, I was like, dude, this is terrible. I can't do any of this stuff. And so I got addicted to it. And when I moved up to Washington State, I was looking for CrossFit gyms. And the first one I tried was Cody Smith's CrossFit gym up here in Washington. And I met him, fell in love with it, didn't even go to another place. It was just, perfect for me. And about 6 months of going to his gym, I was like, hey man, I would love to coach and help people in their journeys because I know how much Cody helped me in mine. He got me super strong, super fit and whatnot. And so he's like, okay, yeah, sure. Go ahead and go get your CrossFit level 1. And so I went and did that. And I came back and started coaching at the gym. Was terrible. I mean, I feel like I have a pretty good personality, but a personality won't help me teach someone how to safely lift a heavy barbell or something like that. So once again, I had to do some internal looking and really focus on how can I be better for these people that are entrusting me to help them. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of weight to it. So I took it very seriously, and I feel like I became a really good coach. And through that relationship with Cody, besides our friendship, that professional one too, when it came time to start coaching jiu-jitsu, Cody was already like, he's like, I know you crush it as a coach in the CrossFit side. Have you ever thought about doing that for jiu-jitsu after I got my purple belt? I was like, dude, I would absolutely love to help people in their jiu-jitsu journey now too. So that's what I kind of do now too, is I don't coach CrossFit anymore. Now I'm just a student. I just show up 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Fridays, most Fridays. And I just work out and then coach jiu-jitsu Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. And it's cool being on the other side of it. What's funny is like a lot of the people I used to coach, I show up in their class and they're like, Travis? They're like, you used to coach me. Like they'll say it in front of the class, like, that's my old coach. He used to coach me. So, and I'm like, well, don't tell him that because if you're not very good, I don't want him to blame me for it. Just kidding.
Oh, he was your coach? That's where you learned all that garbage?
Yeah. You're like, no. I didn't teach them that. I didn't teach.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So talking about, again, one more thing where you go into, and everybody feels it when you go into jiu-jitsu, how you're just inadequate, man. You just get throttled, and it's like, it's 6 months to a year before you start feeling like you know anything. And you just get crushed for that length of time. And so you're the strong CrossFitter guy, and you go into jiu-jitsu. What's that look like?
Oh, you could imagine 100% just got my butt kicked. It's like the first time. So when we opened our academy, Cody had got his purple belt and everyone else was white belts. I think one guy had one stripe white belt and he was like a 19-year-old kid at the time. And here I am, 170-pound Travis, competitive CrossFitter, competitive weightlifter, trying to, get as strong, as jacked, and as fit as possible. And then I go to the jiu-jitsu mats, I put a gi on, and I'm like, feel like I'm doing pretty good. And then the first time I roll with that one stripe white belt, 19-year-old kid, and get the floor mopped with me. This dude, I don't even think I gave this guy a fight, man. I just remember getting up after that round and thinking, I would die in the streets. These muscles means absolutely nothing. I would literally die in the street if someone just has a little bit of training. And I was like, I can't let that happen. So I was like, I got nipped by the bug. Actually, what's funny, I was talking to a guy this morning about this. He was talking to me about how he wanted to try jiu-jitsu. And I was like, it's a whole lot of fun. It's amazing. So much fun. The first 6 months are terrible. It's bad. You get your butt kicked a lot. It's very humbling. I was like, but there's two people that have this happened in jiu-jitsu after the first time they roll. you get your butt kicked and you think, man, I can't ever let that happen again, and you stop training. Or you think, man, I can't ever let that happen again, and you keep training. You know what I mean? So it's like usually there's one of those two people. And so I was just happened to be the one who was like, I just can't let this happen to me. I want to make sure that I'm as fit, healthy, and safe as possible for my family as possible. And so I just kept training, because we see so many people that put on that white belt for the first time. And the white belt is the hardest belt to get in jiu-jitsu, right? Taking that first leap into training is so intimidating and so hard and everything like that. And a lot of people after that first class, they realize like this just isn't for them, and they just stop training. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's like, if you have that mindset of like, this is going to be hard, this is going to be difficult, and like you truly want to push through it, anyone can, it's like, but being uncomfortable or comfortable in the uncomfortable situations it takes time, it's like, it takes a lot of time for you to get there.
That is something that it's hard for people to understand. When you talk about being a strong fit 170-pound guy and you go in and this one stripe white belt kicks your butt. What
smaller
people who
than me
aren't
too,
in
way
the
smaller
jiu-jitsu
than me.
world, what one stripe white belt means you've been doing it 3 or 4 months. That's what it means. It's not a long time. It's the beginnings. They're still not past the sucking stage, right? Well, by far not past the sucking stage. That starts to come 5-6 years in. But a one stripe white belt, if you get throttled by one of those guys, you know that you're gonna die in the streets. So you're very accurate on that.
Yeah, it was such an eye opener, because I felt like, I was like, dude, I'm like super strong, super fit. This guy, if anything, I'll be able to give this guy a good fight. You know what I mean? But it wasn't.
Business owners, I want to talk to you for a second. Do you have a retail space inside your location? If so, I want you to think about something. Your customers are buying electrolytes. You know that, right? The problem is they're not buying them from you. Well, Salty Electrolytes can help fix that with their wholesale program. They can bring these sales to you in-house so that your customers get the electrolytes they love from the company they love, you. All you have to do is head over to goearnyourSalt.com and scroll to the bottom of the page and click Apply for Wholesale. Do it now before you forget. I know your type, I'm one of you. Once again, that's goearnyourSalt.com. The link is at the bottom of the homepage. There will also be a link in the description on this video. And now, my friends, go earn your salt.
I think he had been training for like 6 months or something like that, on and off. And he just got the best of me, man. And I was like, dang, dude, this is crazy. It's addicting though, And I tell people too, like, those first 6 months, really super hard. You're going to suck. Be okay with sucking for those first 6 months, because when that new trial class, that new white belt comes in, and you're like, I know exactly how you're going to feel. And I know exactly how I felt. So let's see if I can replicate my situation. And usually they try, we all see the memes of like, the 2-stripe white belt beating up the trial class guy, or the blue belt beating up the trial class guy. Yeah. And there is some truth to it, because we want to see if we can replicate what happened to us when we first started. A lot of people, right? And I was one of those guys. I was young, and I was like, I want to see if I can smash my friends that want to come to jiu-jitsu. And unfortunately, some of them stopped training because I did smash them. And I was like strong and like somewhat, I was lethal enough, or I knew enough to be dangerous in both good and bad aspects. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like good in a sense of like, I knew what I was doing, but bad in a sense I didn't know enough of what I was doing. So I was still going way too hard with people, still using way too much strength, and being way too aggressive for people that were just starting out. So that was a big realization when my friends were coming to, like, I don't really want to train Travis because you kind of like, you go too hard on me. And I'm like, but I'm not even going that hard. And it's like, well, because I'm used to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like for a first time, it was like me going against someone and then just absolutely demolishing them with every bit of strength and little technique I had. Obviously people aren't going to want to train with me and experience that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I see it. We see it a lot. I've done it too, where I'm amped up, and for whatever reason, I've hurt people, I remember one guy in particular when I was playing, I first learned the baseball bat choke, and I'm like not quite a blue belt, and I'm still in that white belt stage, and some poor dude come to class, and I'm not sure I didn't crack his trachea, man, because he showed up one other time. about 2 weeks later, but his throat was still pretty messed up. And that was an eye opener for me because, yeah, I know enough to submit the guy, but I didn't know enough to not injure him, And
Right.
So, that's kind of what you're talking about. The really skilled people can beat you gently.
Yeah.
They feel
I
like
think it was
magic.
Brandon McCaffrey that was talking about how when he rolls with spazzy people or inexperienced people that are really trying to go hard, he actually, we hear a lot in jiu-jitsu, I just match your intensity. Brandon was saying, I don't match their intensity. I actually try to slow down as much as possible and dominate them with as little energy as possible to show them it's completely unnecessary to be going that hard and
Yeah.
being that aggressive. Like, you don't need to do that at all. And so now I kind of try to take that mindset when it comes to it. I'm like, hey, I'm going to just sit here and soul crushing pressure on you. I'm just going to inch into this submission. I'm just going to neon soul, you know what I mean? And you're just going to sit there and use every bit of energy you can while I'm going to get up and walk away and say, hey, good job, man. You did great. You know what I mean? With barely breaking a sweat. This sounds kind of, I don't want you to sound like a jerk or something like that, but it's kind of like just to show them like, you don't need to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's perfect. And I'm not even that good at jujitsu. I wouldn't even say I'm really good at jujitsu. I make the joke even when I'm coaching. I'm like, hey, I do it this way because I suck at jujitsu. So make sure that you don't do it this way, but this is how I do it.
It's funny, man, because, I've been doing this almost a decade now, and I haven't talked to you since, but I got to grapple with Brandon back in April. And
oh, really?
yeah, it's the second time I've gotten to roll with him, and both times turned out the same. He kicked my butt, but he does it so gentle, man. He's ridiculously good. It's not like, I don't know. We always say there's levels to this game, but it was just systematic. He just systematically picks me apart, and gosh, dude, it was like 6 years ago I grappled with him the first time, so I expected it then, and this time I still expected it, but not with the level of precision which he did it. I was just like, dang, dude, I still feel like I don't know anything. So
yeah,
there's levels to that game.
Yeah, and to your point too, I had we had Nathan Orchard come to our academy to do like a leg lock seminar because he has 10th Planet Seattle over in but he came to our academy and he did a leg locking seminar, and then we got to roll with him afterwards. And to say that I even probably gave that guy a single sweat drop on his brow would be an understatement.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think he had to look at me. I don't even think he had to have his eyes open. He could have been off the mat and he could still submit me. That man was so good. It was insane. And that was my first taste of, oh, there's levels to this. Because I've rolled with other black belts, and like they obviously kick my butt and stuff like that. But like you said, like how systematically and like calm and just like, it was insane. And he wasn't even trying maybe 5%.
Yeah.
What was a compliment is after we got up, he's like, what are you, a blue belt? I was like, I am. Thank you for that. Yes.
Now, recently though, 5, 6, 8 months ago, maybe you got your purple, didn't
August.
you? Last
August of last year. Yes, almost a year now. And I got my purple belt. I was a blue belt for about 5 years. And during the pandemic, I had 2 babies, got a bachelor's degree, worked a full-time job. And so it was really hard for me during those, 3 years to get to training a lot. And so I think that was a contributor to me being a blue belt for so long. Typically, most people that I know that are blue belts to get to their purple belts, about 2-3 years, right? But I was almost 5, so I was definitely like, what am I doing wrong? I was getting the blue belt blues and stuff like that. And then in August, I got my purple belt, and I was like, I'm good. I am perfectly okay. Now I feel like I'm at an intermediate belt / some people say it's an advanced belt. And so now I'm good. Like, now I can do everything I want to do in jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? So it's like, it was an incredibly humbling experience. Cody promoted me. I remember we were doing a 6 a.m. class at the time, and I would woke up at 5 a.m. and I was like, hey babe, I think I'm going to go just do the 6:30 a.m. class instead of going to do the 9:30 class. And she's like, no, don't do that. Just go back to bed. The kids, I don't remember what exactly she said, but I ended up not going. And so she's like, just go to the 9:30. I was like, all right, that's fine.
So she
and I show
knew.
up to class, and she knew. Yeah. And I didn't know this, right? And so I show up to class, and we're about to bow in and everything like that. And I told my wife, she's like, hey, I'm going to go do the 9:30 a.m. class on the other side with the CrossFit. I'll just bring the kids. I have the day off. I'll bring the kids and I'll do the CrossFit class. And then we could just leave together. And I was like, oh, okay, sounds good. And she shows up and she's like in like just normal gym gym clothes. And I was like, are you going to go to the other side? You're already late to the class. And she's like, oh, no. Yeah, I'm going to go. Just hold on a second. And then I turned around and Cody has a purple belt in his hand. And I was like, what is going on here? So it was a super cool experience. They went behind my back and my wife knew that it was going to happen. And so my kids and my whole family was there to watch me get promoted to purple belt. So it was a super cool experience. And I'm glad he did that. So.
Yeah, that is super rad. For those of you who don't know the jiu-jitsu world, the percentage of people who make it from white to blue and then on to purple is very low. It's 1 in 1,000 or something that actually make it to purple belt. The blue belt blues, we call it in the game, is a real thing, and a lot of people will go that 1.5 2 years, get the blue belt, and then they kind of disappear and we don't see them again. Yep. And so congratulations on purple, man. That is a real legit milestone.
I appreciate that, man. And like I said, like that now I'm like, I've talked to a lot of people through my podcast, and a lot of them say like, you know, the difference between like a purple and brown belt is, you know, you're just honing your skill more and more. And then brown to black, a lot of times it's just time on the mat, ensuring you get those reps in and whatnot. That way, if someone comes to you with a question, you feel way more confident in your jiu-jitsu. But at purple, you know jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Like typically, a lot of people say like at purple, you know jiu-jitsu. Like you know this a lot of the same stuff like browns and blacks know, just not to the level and not to the detail. But you're not necessarily going to be learning a whole lot of new stuff. Like you got a pretty good understanding of what jiu-jitsu is. And so I was like telling people like, I know jiu-jitsu now. Like, that's like a joke, you know, but
it's a funny thing. I don't know if I ever showed you, but I had a rash guard made up because the day I got my brown belt, I started saying purple belts is jerks. That's what I'd say it to all the purple belts. I was like, yeah, purple belts are jerks. And part of the reason I say that is a compliment because they're dangerous, right? If you get caught sleeping with a guy wearing a purple belt, you're going to sleep or you're going to be tapping to a joint lock, you know. And that's part of what you're saying. It's like they know jiu-jitsu, man, and they know it to a level that it's like don't fall asleep on that one. But at the same time, I'm now a brown belt, and so now I have to talk down to them because it's just what we have to do. And so purple belts are jerks. And actually, like I said, I had a rash guard made up, and then a couple of my buddies got their brown belts here last year, and that's what I gave them for their gift. Was they each got
so funny.
Purple belts as jerks. So I'll show a picture on here of that rash guard when we
get done.
It would be great.
How do you feel about like the stereotypes of belts within jiu-jitsu? Like I know some of them are pretty funny, but then like, you know, like purple belts skipping warm-ups, blue belts quitting after getting it, black belts just are jerks. You know what I mean? Like how do you feel about these? And like, do you think like there's some truth to them, or do you feel like it's kind of like just tongue in cheek?
No, I think it's tongue in cheek, but I think it's based on reality. Yeah. If we're not a gym that does warm-ups, so we don't get it. Tease the purple belts about that anymore, but every once in a while, man, we'll all be lined up, we're ready to bow in, and we've got a purple belt comes wandering in there, you know, and we're all just standing there like, get your dang belt tied and get in line. So it happens, and I make sure they know that we noticed. And then as far as brown belts gaining weight and kind of becoming the slow lazy ground belt, dude, I am that.
Eating ibuprofen.
Yeah. My coach used to tell me, he says, man, there's going to come a time when you're going to have to get your workouts somewhere else because you're going to get good enough where most of the people in here are not going to give you a workout. So you either roll with black belts all the time or you go get your workout somewhere else, you know. And I didn't believe him, you know, as a white belt and I'm working so hard. But no, that was real, man. I ended up in my brown belt time, I put on some weight and I'm like, what the heck is going on, man? So yeah, those stereotypes are real.
That's so funny.
So now you got your purple belt now. You also, we mentioned at the very beginning, you are the host of the Elbows Tight podcast. Which again, I've listened to for years. So way before I ever thought you and I would be talking. I was a fan of the podcast. And so talk about that, how that got started, because once again, Travis, we're kind of coming around this horn. You started something that you were going to suck at the beginning.
Yeah, so John and I, my old co-host, he stepped away from jiu-jitsu, so he stepped away from the podcast probably about 2-3 years ago. He's still one of my best friends. He literally lives across the street from me. Like, we share an easement. Like, our driveways are connected. My kids call him Uncle John. He's also my boss at work, which is funny. But he's like, him and I, he got me the job in the shipyard. We both had started training jiu-jitsu together at my current academy. And we went to Japan together for work for 3 months. And so while we were in Japan, I had just really started listening to podcasts and whatnot, and started like watching people like Chewy and like all these black belts on YouTube, and listening to like black belts podcasts and whatnot. And I always felt like, I was like, yeah, it's cool hearing you guys, like your wisdom and knowledge of your experience and everything like that. But I want to hear like people going through the stuff I'm going through. You know what I mean? Like, I want to hear people like in the gutters right now, just like, or in the trenches right now, just like trying to figure out how to stop a neon belly and not feel like they're going to die. You know, it's like, and so John and I were training in Japan.
Can I stop you real quick?
Yeah.
Just so audience knows, neon belly, that's not like neon sign. That's like freaking kneecap in your sternum and you can't breathe.
Yeah.
So just in case it comes across that way in the podcast, neon belly's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. Especially when you first start, you have no idea how to brace your abdomen or how to relieve the pressure of like a good neon belly. And there's always going to be people out there that just absolutely, I call it like neon soul. Like, it's so bad, like you feel your soul leaving your body. But so Cody and I, or John and I, were in Japan, and we were training in Japan under some Maliki Freeman people over at Black Label Jiu-Jitsu. He's big on Instagram now. But so we were training underneath some of his guys out there for free. And one day at work, we're just talking about how, you know, we got our butt kicked last night or something. I was like, hey, man, would you want to start a podcast when we get back? He's like, a podcast? What's that? I was like, well, it's like people just recording their conversations with others or whatever. I was like, here, I'll send you some. And he's like, all right, cool, yeah. And so we got back and started Elbows Type Podcast. While I was there, I was like thinking of like jiu-jitsu, and this is before AI was big. So I came up with the name by myself, guys. All right, so give me some credit. But so I was like trying to come up with like kind of like jiu-jitsu related names for it. And I was like thinking of things. One of them was like T-Rex Arms. I think it was T-Rex Arms podcast or something like that. Yeah. And I was like, no, I was like, well, what about like, we always say like, keep your elbows tight. And I was like, it's the same thing. And it's like, it rolled better. And I was like, Elbows Tight Podcast. I was like, that's pretty good. I was like, I like that, man. And so I told John, and he's like, yeah, let's do it, man. And we got back and in June of, I think it was June of 2019, we recorded our first episode, and we recorded 2 or 3 of them and released them, and fell in love with it, man. And yeah, it was bad. It was so bad at the beginning. We used to do this thing called a beverage of the day when we would drink alcohol during the podcast. And I don't drink anymore, but we used to drink, and so we would get, a lot of times we would get way too drunk
on air
about jiu-jitsu. Yeah. On air, yeah, and with no editing, I would just release it unedited into the interwebs. And so listening back at it now, like our audio is not nearly good as it got as we progressed. A whole lot of drinking, swearing, a lot of fun. You know, it was just in my eyes, it was like me just talking to my friends about the things that we were going through in jiu-jitsu. And John and I would we literally just started the first like 15 episodes was in person talking to our friends about things that were happening at the academy and how we were dealing with them. And we didn't see a whole lot of traction at the beginning. For the first couple of years, it was like a decent listening or something like that. But then during the pandemic is when we started doing video, and we really started getting more popular and started getting eyes on us more. And we never did numbers like the other podcasts did. But what was funny is like we didn't have the most downloads. We didn't have the most subscribers on YouTube. We didn't have the biggest following on Instagram or anything like that. But the community that we had for such a small show, dude, it was incredible. The people that So coming from CrossFit, we like to exchange shirts,
Mm-hmm.
right? We like when someone comes in, they'll bring us a shirt, we give them a shirt, we exchange shirts, or they buy shirts or something like that. So one thing I did was I had custom patches made, and I still have them. I just stopped giving them out. But I had custom patches made, and I told all the listeners, if you want one of our custom patches, I will 100% send it to you for free. I'll pay for shipping. All I ask is you just send us a patch in return. Once I get your patch, I'll send out one to you. So I have like a huge collection of patches from around the world, like Canadian Special Forces, police,
Cool.
German police, like all kinds of like crazy patches from around the world because our listeners sent us in their patches from work, from their jiu-jitsu academy. And I was just sending out internationally, domestically, everywhere. I was just sending patches out. And so that, I think that helped out a lot. I think it really connected us and allowed us to have not the biggest following, but I felt like our community was always there for us. It was a super tight knit community. People always messaged me saying, "Hey man, your podcast helped me out quite a bit." And yeah, we were bad at first. It was not good. It was like drunk friends talking, and I think that kind of like um made it a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh oh my gosh, I can't believe, relatable. It made it a little bit
Okay.
more relatable for people. You know what I mean? And to hear people like yourself that, had been training for years already and like you listen to it and whatnot, it's super cool too, because then I started getting black belts that would message me like, "Hey, I've been training for 10 years and it's cool hearing stories again about things that I completely forgot about and experiences I completely forgot about, but it's completely relatable." You know what I mean? And so we just got the reps in and got the reps in and got the reps in and slowly just started improving on one thing at a time. And once I felt like we were good at this one thing, I was like, all right, now time to change this and see if we can get better at this. And at first it was just getting better guests, and then we would get better guests and it wasn't a good interview, right? And I would still release it. And I listen back at it now, I was like, what kind of questions are these? Like, what am I even talking about here? You know what I mean? And so we
Yeah.
just slowly started doing that. And we just got like a little bit better every single episode. And I always had like a thing that I wanted to focus on in every episode to make sure that I did that just a little bit better than I did the previous time. And I still don't have the best podcast in the world, but I really enjoy it. And I'm very proud of everything that I put out, including anything you see that's related to branding or anything, the podcast or content or anything like that. I'm very proud of everything we have. And I think still have a very tight knit community of people that listen, even though I haven't put anything out in a while because of like, sure, we'll talk about this, like family and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So but it's a lot of fun, man. I think everyone should have a podcast until you start talking about some crazy stuff. Then you probably shouldn't put that on the internet, but
We'll talk about that because that transition again. So you said you haven't put out anything for a while, just because there's a season of life going on that has taken priority over that. So what's that look like for you?
yeah. So my wife and I, we had a babysitter, or childcare, if anyone knows, is very expensive in the United States right now. And so we have two kids that are 18 months apart. And so they're both technically newborns or baby/newborn at the time that we were looking for daycare. And so it was going to be more expensive than our mortgage to put our two kids in daycare. And so we did like an in-home nanny, and I still created content, still putting out content consistently throughout the pandemic with the babies, with my bachelor's, with full-time job, everything like that. But the thing that really derailed me was I ended up having to work opposite shifts of my wife. So my wife works like a normal, 6:30 to like 3:30 in the afternoon or whatever. But then I go into work and I work 3:30 till about midnight. And then I come home, I go to sleep, and I watch my kids during the day. And I work a lot of overtime too. And so that once I switched schedules, I realized I'm watching my kids during the day. There's no way I can record an episode while watching my kids. Like,
Yeah.
there's just no way. There are two littles. And my oldest son, he's 16. So he's watching his brother right now. They're downstairs hanging out. So that makes it to where I can do this now. But during the day, it would be impossible for me to focus on providing value to my listeners and giving someone the attention they deserve when they're giving me their time. And so I slowly just started like not doing it. You know what I mean? And so now I haven't put out content in a while, and it's not because I don't want to. The show's not over. It's just like like you mentioned, the season of life I'm in right now. I just have my kids I have to put a lot of energy into, and it's not me complaining. I'm very fortunate to be able to not have my kids in daycare, and me and my wife are still able to make sure that we're raising them, and I'm able to. I spend a lot of time with them, and I'm very forever grateful for that. And so I always tell my son, I was like, you make time for things that are important to you, and my kids obviously are very important to me. And the hobbies that I have outside of podcasting are very important to me. My family's very important to me. So it's just the podcasting. I was like, this takes a lot of time for something that I don't have the capacity to have right now. So I just kind of like put it on the wayside. It's not over. It's just kind of like a break right now. Once my kids get probably back in school, then I'll probably be able to start making content again. But both my kids will start pre-K this year, so they'll be one of them's going to be going 2 days a week, the other one's going to be going 4 days a week. So I'll have time to hopefully get back in there and start documenting my journey and start podcasting again. But I think a lot of people, including myself, like it's hard to let things go. We mentioned earlier it's hard to start things that you're good at, but it's hard to let things go that you're good at also in order to make time for things that should be a bigger priority. Like I want to podcast, I want to train more, I want to be able to do all these things, but I have to be okay with it's just not the season for me to be able to do it right now. And that's not to say that it won't ever be the season again, but just right now I have to set my priorities to where other things are more important. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's great, man, because people got to know that's okay to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see a lot of guilt in that, where people just be like, "Man, I kind of let this thing go," and it's like, no, just take it easy for a while. You got other stuff on your plate that is way more important. Podcast is awesome, but kiddos are awesomer. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Awesomer.
Yeah. I think it is for this context. It sounds pretty good to me.
So look, man, you mentioned to me a while back, and you just kind of mentioned again your coach, Cody, if I remember. That's
yes, sir.
And you mentioned coming to faith in that, and then you talked to me a while back, and it's just on an electrolytes question you had for me. It was like, hey, can I use this for fasting?
Plug it.
And so with that, you've mentioned that to me a couple times. What has that journey been like?
The journey of my faith journey?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my wife and I, we've been together for 10 years now. This year's 10 years. Married for coming up on 6. And growing up, I was never big into faith. I had friends I would go to church with and whatnot. And I had friends that were like in Catholic school, and I would go to church with them or Sunday school with them or whatever it is. But I was never big into faith. My family never went to church or anything like that. And then so my wife and I, we got together, and she was a believer at the time, and I wasn't. And I was never against it. I just didn't think it was for me. I was like, I never felt like a calling to it or anything like that. And so at my job I have now, my old boss, one day I walked in. Oh, and to preface this, well, I think I'll get to it. I went into his office and I was like, hey, Kevin, you should come try CrossFit. I was a CrossFit coach at the time. I was like, hey, you should come try CrossFit. And he's like, how about this, Travis? You come to church, I'll come to CrossFit. And I was like, easy day. I don't mind going to church. It's not even a big deal to me. You know what I mean? I was like, my wife's a believer. I'll just go to help support her and whatnot. So we ended up going to church. And like I said, like I wasn't a believer at the time. And so I went to support my wife and support my friend. And I made a deal so he would come to CrossFit. And so, the message, like if you guys don't go to church or whatever, or you're not a follower of Christ, that's perfectly fine. Like there's messages in church that are just good for people. You know what I mean? Like, and then the Lord slowly works on you to where, you might start following him or not. But I went to church with my wife off and on for like 6 years. And then about, I think it was like a year and a half ago, I was like, you know what? I go to church. I'm like, I believe in like karma, what goes around comes around. I was like, so what's stopping me from believing in like a higher power that sets everything in place? You know what I mean? And so I was like, I'm just going to read the Bible and just educate myself on something on why I don't believe. That way, if someone asks me, I'm big on having I'm big on not following other people's opinion, formulating your own opinion on your information, right?
Mhm.
Good and bad, right? And so I was like, I've never actually read the Bible. I don't actually know too much of what's in it or what these people actually believe. And so how about I just start doing the research on why I don't believe? You know what I mean? And so I started reading the Bible on my own, and I was like, oh, this stuff is pretty interesting. It's like, it's like I started like seeing things happen in my life to where I was like, whoa, maybe God is working in my life, And I was like, you know what? I'm already reading the Bible. I already go to church. I was like, let me just and Cody was like, he's like, listen, he's at the time, he's like, about a year ago, I made the choice to go hard on God. I decided like everything I do is going to be based on him, following him, putting everything on him. And if my life doesn't get better in a year, then there's just nothing. I just will stop. And he said it wasn't even a year in. He's like, my life completely changed. He's like, everything in my life was like so much better. He started seeing things happen in his life that fell in line, and he's like, the only thing I've changed is I just started following Christ more. I started like reading my Bible more. I started following his teachings and whatnot. And so he's like, there's just no way that it's not that. And so I was like, you know what? Cody did it for a year. I was like, let me just try this out. And so um, I was like, I'm gonna start dedicating my life to this. And I did it about a year ago, man. And it's like it's hard to explain to people because it's not always visual things. It's not always obtainable things. It's not always things that you can see that when you start following Christ, that makes the biggest difference. You know what I mean? And I don't want to get too preachy on here, but but like it's the internal struggles that we all deal with that were like the first things to go. Like I used to be very angry. I used to be very temperamental. I'm much easier now. That's like I have like a much bigger calmness to me. When I first started reading my Bible, I would read it. I read it at night before I go to bed, and I would tell people when I would start reading the scripture, uh, I would start falling asleep, and it's not because it wasn't boring. It's very like if you read the Gospels, it's very interesting hearing the stories and seeing all these people that were around Christ and things that He's done, and the person Jesus was. But it was like so calming to me. Like I just felt so at ease. Like everything that went on in my day was just gone, And like I just really just was like, this isn't a coincidence. You know what I mean? Like my wife's and I relationship got better. My relationship with my kids got better. I started taking my health more seriously again. My training got better. You know what I mean? I would like pray before going to class, like, Lord, just please help me get through this. Let me fight these battles and be by my side. And like my training got better, and I just felt like I was becoming a better and better person, and a better husband, a better father, a better friend, and stuff like that. And I was like, once again, the only thing I changed was I just started putting my faith in Jesus, and I started following his teachings, and I started really devoting my life to him. And I stopped drinking. I stopped doing all the sinful things in my life that I wasn't like cheating on my wife or anything like that. If she listens to this, it wasn't like me cheating on my wife, but we all have our sin that we deal with, whether it's anger, pornography, whatever it is. And so I really just started like laying that down, and my life has just been amazing. You know what I mean? It's just been so much better. And obviously, I'm like any other person. I still struggle. I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. The only person perfect is Jesus, right? And so, but I really try my hardest to live by the values of him, and really try to make sure that I'm doing the best I possibly can every chance I get. You know what I mean? So it's been a big thing. And yeah, to your point, so why bring it all back to like why you brought up the electrolytes. One thing that my friends and I decided to do is we decided to do a 5-day fast because Jesus talks about fasting in scripture. And so I was like, well, I felt like there was a calling in my heart that I needed to fast. Like I felt like the Lord was working like every time I heard something about a fast, I was like, there was just like this, like, oh, I should be doing that. Like, oh, I should be doing that. And so me and my friends decided to do a 5-day fast where we did a water only fast. And I I messaged Riley and I was like, hey man, will salt break my my fast, and you're like, nah, dude, you're good. It's minuscule calorie wise. Like you're basically burning it by the time you're done drinking it. And so I was like, all right, cool. And that helped me a lot, man, because the point to a fast is to bring you closer to God, to strengthen your relationship with God. And because when you start putting your faith in, like, oh, I can do this by myself, and when things get hard, it's you have to lean on God in order to help you get through these things. And so, every time I got hungry, I would like drink my water, and I would drink a lot of water, or I would drink like the carbonated water and stuff like that. And I would just pray, and I would like, and it was crazy that the hunger would literally go away. Like it sounds crazy to people that aren't believers, but I promise you, I would sit there and pray for like 5 minutes, and I would, face the dirt, just surrender and be like, Lord, just help me get me through this day.
All right, you sweaty buggers. That liquid dripping off your forehead and down your back contains minerals that are critical for high performance. If you don't put those minerals back, you're not going to perform well. This is where Salty Electrolytes comes in. Salt contains 6 electrolyte minerals plus a touch of iodine to help you replenish after a hard workout. Salt is the only electrolyte supplement to pair every mineral with its counterpart, giving you the most robust mineral profile on the market, period. Head over to goearnyoursalt.com today to get some for yourself. Use the code GOEARNYOURSALT to get 15% off your first order. And now, my friends, go earn your salt.
It was easy. It was hard. It was very hard to do it, but it was easier than I was expecting. And I think maybe it had to do with because I was just like, I would just pray and pray and pray, and it's just like it helped out so much. And ended up doing. My wife was having issues with it, and a couple of my friends were having issues, so we ended up only doing a 4-day, but still 4-day fast out of 5 was a huge success to me. And other people within my like men's group were like, dude, next time you do it, let me know. I've been wanting to fast. I was like, let's do it, man. Let's get a bunch of us together and really fight through it together. And once again, it goes back to, like I said earlier in our conversation, doing something difficult, something new with the community makes it so much better and so much easier because there's other people you can lean on when things get really, really hard. And so it was a great experience and salt really helped me out a lot, man. Like I would wake up in the morning and I would drink it, or I would go work out, or I would coach and I would drink it right before that. And it was a game changer for me.
Well, it's funny because I didn't intend that to be a shameless plug. It sort of ended up being that, but it was a genuine conversation you and I had.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Fasting is it's been a religious thing for millennia, but it's also kind of coming into fashion in the fitness world, right? Where intermittent fasting or even extended fasting, because there's some pretty great health benefits to it. And so I get that question all the time. So that was genuine. Me going, hey, you did mention it to me, and people do on a regular basis. I'll get that message. Somebody will send me one across the Instawebs and say, hey, will this break my fast? And it seems to help. It really seems to help take the edge off those headaches and things you can get just having an electrolyte there. So, but you mentioned doing hard things, and the 5-day fast. I've never done a full 5 days. I've done 3. It's the longest I've done. I've had
next time real quick. I will ever only do a 3-day, maybe a 4-day. Like 3 days more than enough for me.
A friend of mine did a 21-day.
Oh,
and
good for them.
I mean, he lost 30 pounds and something in that time, but there were some times there where he talked about the experience and how he had really good days, and every once in a while I'd have a bad day, but most days were good. He felt good most of the time. It was a really interesting conversation. Maybe one day I'd interview him on that. It'd be fascinating.
I was gonna say, I was really surprised, like I said, like how difficult but easy it was at the same time. Like the first and second day are honestly the hardest, but then you just kind of get in the groove of things and you just feel lighter, you feel snappier and stuff like that. You do get tired and everything like that, but it was crazy. I don't know about 21 days though. I don't know about that, man. I love food way too much.
That's a special thing. Yeah. So you talked about doing hard things. When you hear the term, this is called the Go Earn Your Salt podcast. When you hear the term go earn your salt, what does that mean to you?
It means like go do hard, like you just mentioned, go do hard things. To me, like you explained it to me, during my podcast, like where it came from and whatnot. And whenever I wear that shirt, people kind of like, go earn your salt. What does that mean? It's like, go get after it. It's kind of like what you know what I mean? Like go put in the work of whatever it is you have to do. Whether it's jujitsu, fitness, running, baseball, something challenging, right? It kind of goes to that. Like you should always have something in your life that is challenging for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's something that you have to work at in order to even have, small marginal gains of success in. And jujitsu for that is that to me right now. Also, like I mentioned, I picked up bass again. I'm the bass player for my worship group at church, and so even like if I just get like a song I'm learning and I get like a lick in there that I'm trying to learn, I'm like, ooh, I earned my salt today. But it's like going out and just getting after whatever it is that is challenging you, whether it's physical, mental, spiritually, whatever it is. Like to me, when you say go earn your salt, it's like doing something that is difficult, doing something that is challenging to you, doing something that is improving you in some aspect of life. And if it, like you mentioned in my podcast, like in order to get your salt in the sailor days, you had to put in work. Like you weren't just going to get it just because you were there. You know what I mean? Like, and so to me, that's really what I think of when I hear go earn your salt.
Beautiful. Can we move on to some lighter questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, man. What is your favorite pastime outside of jiu-jitsu now? Favorite pastime?
Ooh, favorite pastime. I really enjoy mowing my lawn. That's a lot of fun. I enjoy fishing, but favorite of all time. I'm a big video game nerd, I would have to say. I've been playing World of Warcraft since I was like I don't know, 16 years old. So I'm a big WoW nerd. I play WoW in a lot of my free time. I'll probably go play WoW after this until my kids get home, my wife gets home, and then I'm gonna go paddle boarding and fishing with my son. So,
you just this has been this question. I've heard people say WoW before, and I never knew what the heck they were talking about. That's World of Warcraft. Okay.
Yeah. World of Warcraft.
I just came to that.
MMORPG, dude. Yeah, straight nerd stuff.
Oh man, yeah. I feel like I just had one of those 10-year-long questions answered. Okay, is a question that was deep back. It was deep back in there, man. I didn't realize it was.
You're like all of a sudden it was just like a little ping, like wow. Oh, that's what that is. It's kind of like I was explaining. What's funny is I was coaching the other day and we're teaching wrestling up or coyote or whatever you guys want to call it. If you do jujitsu, and it's like you're laying on your side in half guard, you wrestle up, get an underhook. But I was going over how to do like the rolling sweep where they go for a whizzer, right? And I was like, hey guys, it's called a whizzer, not a wizard. I was like, I said it wrong for years. I was like, so if you say it wrong, I'm not judging you. I was there too, but it's actually whizzer, not wizard. And people are like, oh. I was like, I was there, man. I get it.
Oh, this good friend of mine. In fact, he's one of the guys that introduced me to jiu-jitsu. He still calls it a wizard. And it
oh my gosh, that's so funny.
There's two terms that really get under my skin, and one of them is calling the wizard a wizard. And then the second one is when guys call the tool the sawzall. They call it a sawzall.
Oh my god.
If they say sawzall, I'm just like, dude, you've never read the box, have you? It's a
you got to say it fast. Sawzall.
Yeah, sawzall. It ends with L's. 2 L's. All. That's funny, man. Something quirky about you that most people don't know.
Something quirky about me that most people don't know. Ooh, that's a good one. These are some good questions, Riley. I'm going to have to steal these. It's deep, man. Something quirky that people don't know. I can't whistle. I've tried my life to whistle. Also, man, this is kind of embarrassing. But I didn't know New England wasn't a state until my mid-20s. So
fascinating.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was all of like the 13 original colonies was New England. Someone was like, "Yeah, I'm from New England." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." I was like, "That's like in the Boston area,
what's
right?"
What's the capital of New England?
No. Yeah, Washington D.C., I guess. But I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "So like from Boston." I was like, "But you just said New England." They're like, "Yes, Boston is part of New England." I was like, "I thought it was part of Massachusetts." They're like, Yes, Massachusetts is part. I was like, I don't understand. They're like, it's the collection of. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like 25 years old at the time. I was like, Vegas public system for you, public education for you, man.
No, man. So it's kind of like most of us grew up. I found out this was way more than just me, but I thought LMNO was one letter in the alphabet for the longest time. So there you go.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. So, okay. This is a question I like to ask everybody. It's a little goofy, but if you go to a restaurant, you order a hamburger and the veggies get put on underneath the patty, is that acceptable or not?
Underneath it, I'm gonna say no, dude. How is it supposed to soak up the juices? Then you're just gonna like take a bite, and then you're gonna have like the juices fall on you from the lettuce or tomatoes or whatever. No, it's got to go on top.
It's got to
go on top. Got to go on top.
Now,
I've never even thought about that. What kind of blasphemy is that? Now you just messed up my worldview.
Yeah.
People do that?
See, here's the thing, dude. And you just brought up, you're the first person to bring up a practical answer to that. Because veggies don't soak up juices, and now it's just dripping. Wow, you gave me something to think about here. Because for me, it's just annoying. It's like, no, that's the veggies go on top. And I talk about this recent restaurant I went to where they had onions on top of the patty, but lettuce and tomato below the patty.
What?
And I thought, I'm going to keep flipping
weird.
this thing so many times that it's just going to be perpetual motion, and I'm going to create a nuclear reaction here probably. But
a black hole from the burger.
All right, have you ever?
Definitely on top. Definitely on top. If you do it on the bottom, don't talk to me.
Yeah, we're not friends. No. Oh man, have you ever been in a fight outside of jiu-jitsu mat?
Yeah, once or twice. Yeah. Not my proudest moments, but unfortunately, yes. Looking back, what's funny is the more you get trained in violence, the more you realize it's not the answer. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like the more I train in jiu-jitsu, the more I realize I am 100% walking away from every situation I possibly can. I will be the smaller person. I will say I'm sorry. I will say you're right. I'll give them whatever they need. I am using violence as little as possible when it comes to it. If I can safely walk away with my family, I'm not gonna engage in violence outside of the mats, dude. There's too many scenarios, there's too many variables that I just don't want to risk it. You know what I mean? Like you don't know who they're with, you don't know any of that, right? And so yeah, I've been in a couple fights, not my proudest moments, and I definitely am not trying to ever do those again.
What set that off? What was maybe not both of them, but one of them? What was the catalyst? What was the situation?
Oh, it was just like disrespect. You know what I mean? You're young. You think that someone shouldn't be disrespected in a certain way, and so you're like, hey, now we're gonna fight because you said X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? It's like stupid, young, naive things. It's like looking back at it, like I said, it's like embarrassing. You know, like when you get in fights as a young guy, like you think it's super masculine, but to me, like my oldest son, he's at that stage now where he's like, he wants to like fight his friends for like fun. And which is, I'm perfectly okay with. Boys need to let it out. You know what I mean? Like if it's, as long as it's in a controlled environment, as long as they're not going out and like jump at people in the streets or whatnot. But if it's like mutual combat between two friends and they just want to duke it out, I'm okay with that, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm just like, yeah, they need to let it out. But if it's like stupid fighting things, I'm just like, man, it's just not for me anymore. I enjoy watching UFC and stuff like that, but I'm not going to go voluntarily get punched in the mouth anymore. I'm okay. I have enough chip teeth.
With disrespect, that is probably the worst reason to fight, right?
Yeah. Words. Oh, imagine that.
Yeah. Oh, he said a thing to me. Talk about being unmasculine is that those words hurt my feelers, and now I'm gonna be mad about it.
It's so stupid. It's like now if someone's like, you're an idiot, I'm like, you're right. I do a lot of stupid things. Yeah. There's nothing anyone can say to me that, unless they're like threatening violence on my family. You know what I mean? Like, but like people, I don't even get road rage. My wife gets road rage sometimes. I'm like, what's the point? What's the point? People like nowadays, people get shot all the time in road rage incidents. Like let them pass if they want. Like get in the right lane, whatever. It doesn't matter if they're riding our tail. As long as they don't hit us, we're good. Just move over. Like there's no. If someone cuts us off, did we hit them? No. okay, so you know what I mean? Like, and I've really looked at it that way of like I don't want to fight these people in the streets. I don't want someone to pull a gun on me or anything like that. Like, and so that's really helped me out a lot too. Is like just not caring. Like, if it doesn't overtly affect me, then it is what it is.
You've
And it's
got,
actually pretty peaceful.
yeah, yeah. You can get places without that constant level of kind of heightened stress,
Yeah,
right?
vitriol, like of just like "Oh, everyone, screw everyone." I'm like, oh, relax. Life is
Oh
better
man.
when you're not so mad.
Well, tell me, what's the scariest moment of your life? Hey, has all that talk about salty electrolytes made you wonder what all the fuss is about? Have you thought that maybe one day you'd like to try that stuff? Well, today's your lucky day because Salty Electrolytes is offering free samples to listeners of this podcast who have not yet tried this amazing electrolyte supplement. All you have to do is head on over to goearnyourSalt.com and use the code PODSAMPLE at checkout to receive your free sample kit. There will also be a link in the description of this podcast. And now, let's get back to the show.
Ooh, scariest moment of my life. There's the one that always picks up right. The first thing that comes to my mind is 19-year-old Travis, fresh to the Navy. Like I mentioned, I was like a firefighter slash what we call damage control people in the Navy. So when there's like a fire on board, flooding or something like that, we're the ones that respond underway when the boat's out to sea. But so we're underway. I think it's like one of my first underways with the Navy, and we have a casualty alarm is what it's called, like a flooding in one of the compartments. And I was like, oh crap, okay, I guess we run, we get all dressed and everything like that, and they start telling us like, hey, Motl, we need you to go to this compartment, make sure that the flooding isn't coming into that next compartment. If it does, you need to let us know so we can address it. And so I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go to that area. And so I run down there. And I open up the hatch, and I open it up, and it's the space that's flooding. And I see one of my buddies, and he has what we call a fire main pipe. So like the seawater, we use seawater in a lot of systems, and so we have a lot of these pipings are like 12-inch pipes, right? And so he was doing maintenance on it, and he thought it was tagged out. He thought all the water was secured in this section, so he went to go open it up. Well, it blew open there was a valve that wasn't closed, and so 12 inches of water at like 150 gallons of per minute were flowing, and he's just trying to like hold this thing up. And I'm like, I pause, I open up the door, and I just see him just engulfed with water. And I was like, holy crap, this is real. You know what I mean? Like, this is bad. And I was like, I should probably go do my job. Because there was other people in there that were helping him. I was like, I should probably go do my job. And I closed it, and I like ran. But I remember like it stopped me in my tracks. Like that was like the first time I was like, dude, like this is real life. When these things get called away, like it's no joke. Like these are real situations that could cost people their lives. And so that was the first time where I was like legitimately like, holy crap, man, like this is no joke. So 19-year-old Travis changed me forever. I was like, never doing that again. Like I need to pay attention better.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think people understand, unless you've ever experienced a lot of water all at once, how much force and pressure and
it's
how scary
crazy.
that is.
Yeah, I don't even think it. And I don't even think like it was fully what he was removing was fully off yet. Like I think it was still somewhat secured in there with some screws, so he was able to like help kind of like reinforce it so it didn't like blow off and cause worse damage. You know what I mean? It was just crazy. Like I was just like, this is, and he was a big guy too. This guy was like not professional, but he was like big into bodybuilding and powerlifting. So he's a big, strong guy. And I was like, he looked tiny compared to the mountain of water that was coming over him. I was like astonished about how crazy it was.
Wow, man. Travis, what's a bucket list challenge? Something you wish to do in the future?
Bucket list challenge.
Shouldn't call it a challenge, but just a bucket list item.
My big thing right now is one, I want to be debt free. Me and my wife are close to being it's financial stuff right now. I want to be debt free so we don't have to worry about paying car notes or whatever it is. This doesn't include our house. I mean, one day I would like to have my house paid off, right? But I want to be debt free, own everything I have And then also, I want to become the first millionaire in my family. And the best way to do that, Dave Ramsey, whether you agree with like what he says or not, he wrote a book and he interviewed 1,000 millionaires in the United States. The top answer for how they create became a millionaire is through a 401k, like a employer 401k, and I have one through the government. And so I was like, well, if I want to be a millionaire, the best way that I'm going to do it, the most practical way for me in my situation is through a 401k. And so that was a big goal of mine. Is I've want to become a millionaire, and even if I die after I retire and I have like a couple $1 million in my 401k, at least my kids get it. You know what I mean, or my grandkids or whatever. So kind of helps create generational wealth. So those are like my big goals right now.
That's pretty rad, man. I've been a Dave Ramsey fan for a lot of years, and
Oh, really?
we've been debt free now for 15 years. And
Dang.
I'm just telling you, life is better without debt.
Yeah.
We drive older
We
cars
did
than some of our
financial
friends.
peace.
But,
Yeah,
go
we
ahead.
did financial peace a couple years ago, and it's helped out quite a bit. But we've been for the last couple years with the kids and everything like that. We've been slacking on our budgeting and paying stuff off, and so we got to get back into it.
Yeah. Moving on, what's a book that you have read maybe multiple times that you would recommend everyone read?
The book that I recommend to everyone, and I haven't read it in years, and I kind of forgot all the great details about it. But The Alchemist. If you haven't read The Alchemist, it's an incredible book. Super good. It's a short read. You could probably read it in one day if you're a good reader. But the story is just phenomenal. It literally was like one of the only books I've ever read where like I couldn't put it down. That was a great one. Born to Run is another good one about the Tatamuhara tribe in Mexico that run barefoot for marathons, and that was a good one. What's another good book that I read? I'm not a big reader, but I do try to read uh, a lot. Do audiobooks count?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I'm reading. I'm listening to one right now called Ascendant. It's a once again, I'm a nerd, so it's a dragon fantasy book, but it's really good. If you guys are big into like Game of Thrones, World of Warcraft kind of stuff, that's a good one. Ascendant. It's on Audible. I'm listening to it right now. I'm almost done with the first book. I think there's 3 or 4 books in this series, and the first book is like um 18 hours or something like that. That was a good one. Oh, a book that everyone should read because it's a big eye opener to what the U.S. government has done. Is what's the name of it? Chaos, about the uh oh my gosh, about the CIA, how they were drugging people
Mm.
in the 70s, and how they were getting people uh to do like crazy things through like the crack epidemic and stuff like that, and like through psychedelics and things. It's yeah, chaos. I don't want to play it. Hold on a second. But yeah, like the name of the book is Chaos: Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret Histories of the 60s. It is so good. It's crazy. The author was on Joe Rogan a couple years ago, and he had 500 pages of references in the book alone. He wanted 1,000 pages, or no, he had 100 pages of references, I think it was, and just the documents that he got from the Freedom of Information Act about the CIA and stuff like that. He wanted more, but his publisher said we can't put that many references in the book. That's another one. It's a crazy eye opener about real things that the U.S. government has done to its people. So
That's wild. You're the second person that's been on our podcast has mentioned The Alchemist. So
it's a good book.
When the first guy mentioned, I ordered it, and I just realized I haven't received it yet. So I need to figure out where that thing's at. It's been a couple weeks ago. So, well, what's next for you, man? Where are you going from here?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like there's things going on in my life where I'm kind of just trying to focus on those. Being a dad is probably the biggest thing. I want to get back to podcast and content creation. I have a great video that's going pretty viral for me right now. I think it's like got 130,000 views on YouTube right now, and it's like the 5 biggest myths white belts shouldn't listen to, something like that. And it's obviously there's a lot of people that are hating on it in the comments and whatnot, and I love it because it's engagement no matter what.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to ride the coattails of that success because it was right when things started changing in my life to where I was like, well, I can't really make content anymore. But what's next for me, man? I'm kind of on that season right now where I'm just kind of like steady in what I'm doing and just listening to the Lord and seeing what He puts in front of me next. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I used to suffer from always worrying about what's going to happen next, or the next thing I'm going to do, or having the next career or a backup plan and stuff like that. And lately I've more along the lines like that kind of draws my attention away from things that are important to me right now. And so I've really just trying to been focusing on the things that are happening in my life right now with work and my family and the Lord and stuff like that. So it's hard to say where I'm going to go next, because I mean things could change tomorrow. You know, it's hard, but I would like to think that whatever happens or wherever I go, like I mentioned earlier, I've been pretty successful at everything I've done, and in my careers and my personal life and stuff like that with my marriage. And so I would like to think no matter what happens, I'm going to be successful at it, and it's going to work out in my favor in the long run. So
beautiful. Well, listen, where can you be found?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, anywhere. Elbows Tight at Elbows Tight, elbowstight.com, stuff like that. I'm mostly Elbows Tight on podcasts or on on Instagram. If you guys want to follow me on there, I haven't posted in a while too. I actually took all social media off I told you this. I took all social media off my phone. I felt like, once again, I was doom scrolling. I was spending way too much time on social media. And so I removed it from my phone. And now if I want to check my Instagram, I don't get all the notifications. So it stops me from constantly being on there. I have to go through the browser on my phone, like Google Chrome. And if you guys have ever tried browsing Instagram on like Google Chrome on your phone, it is a terrible experience. You do not want to hang out on it. So that's what kind of like keeps me from not staying on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff for very longest, because the experience is, they made the experience terrible for the web browser on your phone. They want you to use the app, right? So, but I'm on there a couple times a day. So if you guys follow me, message me, or want to chat about something I said, or you have critiques or whatever, you could find me. Probably there's the best way to get a hold of me.
Wonderful, man. All right, my friend. Man, I'm honored you came on today. It was really fun talking with you. Wish you well in the next season of your life, kind of the stuff you've got going on, and can't wait to hear that podcast come back.
Hey, man, once again, dude, I'm eternally grateful, forever humble about you letting me come talk on your podcast and give my testimony, and, you know, having an open ear and heart to me, man. And I'm grateful for everything you've done for me too, with sponsorship and just being there and helping me out, man. So thank you so much for your time, guys. Make sure you guys give him a 5-star review down below. Make sure that you spread it to your friends. Give a share. Let them know what your favorite part of the episode was.
I love
all that fancy stuff. Go check out Salt Electrolytes.
I love it. You come on here and give your exit. I love it.
Remember, no oil checks here. Like,
no oil. We're not even going to explain to the non-jiu-jitsu people what that means.
Don't feel that, Riley. Thank you so much, man.
You're awesome, my friend. Go earn your salt, Travis.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, you've just finished up this episode, and I want to know, are you or someone you know a getting after it, go earn your salt type of person? If so, message me directly on Instagram at the Go Earn Your Salt podcast, and perhaps we can have you on the show. Also, if you like this content, leave us a review, subscribe, and share with your friends. And perhaps this podcast can help you and them go earn your salt.